this video. We started a series of videos to discuss social mobility. Earlier today, I published one where I sort of introduced this topic because I believe it's very important for us as a community. And I'm talking about Afro-Australian communities, but this goes beyond the African Australian communities. It relates to pretty much all African communities, whether it's in the continent or in the diaspora. Social mobility is important because it is about looking how people move from lower to higher level of socio-economic well-being, moving from poverty to better, wealthier, or more comfortable situations. And we're going to be having a series of guests who will be talking to us about this. And tonight, I have Fundi Kira Kipaya, who is a transformational coach. And he is going to be talking to you and I together. We'll discuss social mobility. Fundi, how are you tonight?
I'm good, thank you, Clyde. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Fundi. Let me tell the viewers that Fundi is based in Sydney. I am in Melbourne, but technology is such that we can have a conversation, and you can watch this conversation from anywhere in Australia and beyond. Now, Fundi, you are a transformational coach. Tell me a little bit about what that is and what you do.
Transformational coach is can be explained in a way that it is helping people to start their own journey of self-discovery as a personal development. So that that's the simplest way.
All right, and this is, I suppose, both for individuals, organizations, communities, and all that sort of thing that helps people to process that transformation from one state to another, isn't it?
Yes, to transition from one step to another in your life, and it is just insisting on being on lifetime learning. And so I've developed a system to help people to do that and to take their own responsibility to do it. Once they understand, there's a framework for it to help them to do it, to go through.
Okay. Now, we're talking about social mobility. Fundi, what's your understanding of social mobility?
Social mobility can be explained as definitely there's a standard of social class, which is class. You could be a working person, or you could be an entrepreneur, or you could be an executive.
Member of the elite.
Yeah. So this now it's not very well talked about, but it is always there. That everyone, when they're in what motivates people is really the socioeconomic mobility, to going on an upward trajectory in life. You don't want to be stuck in one position where economically you're drowned. So you want to do something to develop and move forward.
Sure. And I suppose for migrant communities, such as Africans in the Australian context, where we come to the country, we are a minority. This is something that is actually quite important because there are a number of barriers to that social mobility that have to be overcome, and that requires quite a bit of work, doesn't it?
It does. It definitely does.
Oh, we're having a little bit of a connection trouble with Fundi. Fundi, can you still hear me? Okay. We've lost Fundi. The technology works very well, but sometimes it just doesn't. And it's good when it works. Yeah, Fundi is back. You can hear me, Fundi?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Please just repeat the response you were giving to the question I asked, to say, as a minority group, this social mobility sort of topic is quite relevant for African communities in Australia, as an example, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, and from my observation, I think there's a big knowledge gap on how to get started when you come to. It can be complex to to participate in the economic system which we don't understand, and most of the time we find ourselves on the fringe of the economic system.
Yeah, and I suppose one way to get out of the fringe of the economic system that you say, because there are obviously things that we can do, everybody can do themselves on an individual level, but there are things that are best or better done in a community level. Even those who are successful individually, they always, if you look closely, they always benefit from the networks, and that means the contribution of others in their lives. Now, one important thing is collaboration. I suppose in a community context, collaboration is very important because it enables people to, I suppose, leverage on their strength. And what's your reading on the collaborative mindset within African Australian communities?
Well, it's I would say it's pretty weak and disappointing, because there's a very many factors which can cause that, but one of them is fragmentation, and that keeps that potential not to be where it should be. If our communities understood how to use the collaborative capacity they have, and that undermines the whole process of collaboration.
And in order for people to be able to collaborate, I guess there's one key element, which is trust. Because if people don't trust each other, they are unlikely to collaborate. What's your reading about trust? And I suppose that's possibly something I want to delve into a little more. Why? I mean, in my observation, there's not much trust within our communities, at least not enough, not as much as we should be able to demonstrate. And that is, I suppose, not enabling us to collaborate more and unite our strength. What would you say about this lack of trust, and how do we build more trust in the community?
Yes, Clark. Okay, so we are experiencing trust deficits in our communities, and for the very same simple reason. When we trust, if there is any trust violation, then we have a problem, because now that has even caused total socioeconomic bankruptcy. And if you look at it, the underlying issue is actually trauma, which is generational, which has been passed on for a long time from not going through healing.
Okay, so you're saying we are not trusting each other sufficiently because there are potentially some generational trauma. Can you unpack that a little bit?
Yes. So when individuals or communities go through some kind of suffering, if it is not attended to and to go through a process of healing, there's a lot of legacy behind, which causes people to feel uncomfortable within themselves, and therefore not being able to even trust, because trust is something which is transactional, as in it is reciprocated when it's needed. So if one person is not feeling comfortable to interact with another person at a higher level of trust, we eventually end up with low trust or no trust communities, which is what we're going through, and that's what I was mentioning about trust deficit. So trauma makes people stay in fear. And in coaching terms, when we say fear, we're talking about somebody who find it very difficult to express or to have self-expression of love. All the time they're worried about, because they're sitting on a level of security and safety, looking for security and safety. So they become insular. And when they become insular, they will not come out and participate properly in the community at the collaborative level.
Okay, so what are some of the things that then we need to do to encourage more trusts within the community, where people can use the trust to work together more, to collaborate more, and do things more, because that will then enable the knowledge and that knowledge capital that some people may have and others don't, to be able to be transferred.
That's correct. It's we need to build platforms which, like the one we are working on, the Afropreneur, and a lot of other platforms for communities to come together and experience that you can actually trust people of your own and be comfortable and be secure and feel safe. And by creating safe spaces for us to interact and do share knowledge and wisdom on how to make our communities thrive.
So you mentioned the Afropreneur Summit Australia platform, which basically is bringing professionals and entrepreneurs together to connect, to learn, to share their experiences and explore collaboration. Do you think that this type of platforms can actually help a lot in terms of building trust within the community?
Absolutely. The close proximity is important, and doing activities together for active learning, because not always people can read books, can do a lot of things, but when people are interacting and exchanging energies, people will start feeling safe and not just think. They will start feeling it is actually safe environment where people can express themselves. They become open, they become closer, and out of many members in there, they will have a starting point to start trusting, and to build high trust communities instead of low trust communities.
And is there anything else that you would sort of recommend from a community level? Obviously, we talked about platforms, networks such as this. What else can be done to continue, I suppose, conversations around trust building? And this is part of why we're having this conversation. Are there other things that may come to your mind about how we develop this more?
Well, I've got a process I call ABC. Okay, this ABC process is a 3-step guide to learn to connect with yourself and at authentic level. So that's A, authentic level, and also that comes with B, which is belief or belonging. To have that sense of belonging, and then C is courage. Courage is a word, a Latin word meaning expressing from your heart. Okay, so of course that the meaning has changed now over time. Now it's used as being brave, but actually it's communicating or telling a story by heart. So connecting with your peers heart to heart is very important. Meaning you are at the sensual level where you can feel everything about intuitively. And that is the most important, I think, which is working on yourself. That's to go through transformation, and not to be more pretentious, more authentic, and express through your belief, express courage, and being able to be forthcoming to people instead of being insular and staying back.
Sure, and maybe just one more question as we wrap up this specific edition on social mobility. Africans come from a collective mindset. And what sometimes I don't understand is, despite the fact that, for millennia, many of our communities, our ancestors worked collaboratively to do things, when you see what's happening now, and I'm talking from personal experience, but I suppose you can also connect to that. When I look at what happens in the broader community here in the African Australian context, this trust deficit, where is that coming from? We should normally be, with that collective mindset, be able to work to trust each other more and work more collaboratively. Where did things go wrong?
I think that interestingly, it's the education which we go through. Okay, so when we are going through education, what happened is implicitly we learn to become individualistic, but not being efficient individualistically. We become more self-interested, and because we've never had to compete within ourselves. But when you go to school, that's one thing, you compete. So that idea of advancing self-interest has killed the natural collaboration which our ancestors practiced. And for us to bring that back, we need to bring awareness and not just sitting there and hoping that things will change, because the world is changing, and we've moved to countries where individualism is the norm, and so collective has become secondary. So we need to bring that in the fore by addressing through trust, through activities we do, through learning, through finding knowledge. I think we'll be able to do it, but that is the underlying problem. The underlying problem is the way we have adopted to what I call pseudo-individuality. Because individuality is not necessarily a bad thing. No, not at all. It's a good thing. But within the collective, you should be able to be beneficial to your community with your individuality practice, But we seem to struggle with that. We don't know how to switch between when we go out as individuals and when we come back to communities. We still compete within us, which is a wrong thing.
Well, we still compete within us, and perhaps that's might lead us to the next conversation about the competition within the community, which I suppose is competition can be a good thing, but if it's not done properly, it can actually wreck community development. But that's all we've got time for tonight. Fundikira Kipaya, thank you very much. Just remind those who are watching this specific edition of Africa Media Australia on social mobility that I'm speaking to Fundi, who is a transformational coach and founder of School of Flow. Maybe next time he's going to tell us more about School of Flow. Fundi, thank you very much. And I do appreciate you coming to the platform to talk to us. And we're going to be having you a few more times to discuss these important matters. What will be your last comment?
I would urge that in our communities, members of our communities, to start thinking about prepare, to be aware, to care and share. Thank you, Clive.
Wow, prepare to be aware, care and share. I can hear the sound there, and it's bringing a lot of things to my mind. All right, thank you very much, folks. We just encourage you to share this video, to like our Facebook page, to comment, and also if you have skills and expertise in some areas that may be beneficial to the community, do not hesitate to contact us, because we may have you on the platform as well. Thank you very much, and until next time, stay blessed. Thank you. Bye-bye.